Hey guys, this is Lala Legacy, and welcome back to another episode of Symphonic Rain. So, let's jump right back in. I stared at her retreating figure until it vanished from sight, then looked the other way. Ah, good morning. Good morning. I suppose it's a bit late for that. Good point. Did you just arrive? Actually, fell in or awkwardly averted her eyes for an instant, then said with determination, I've been here for a while. I saw you talking with Tortanita, so you didn't really have to wait though. Sorry. Oh no, it was just it was I who shouldn't have. It's all right. This is between Torta and I after all. Maybe she realized I was there. Like I said, it's nothing you should worry about. Okay. So, where do we go? If we follow yesterday's plan, we'll go to church first, then head to the concert. Okay, and after that, there was somewhere else you wanted to go, right? Yeah, for a bit. Well, we'll leave that until later. Let's go to the church then? Right, it's customary after all. I figure all the people walking in this direction are headed for the church. Fal continued as we went on our way to our destination. Probably. When you consider that, it'll probably be packed. We entered the new town. I felt it had been ages since I last set foot in here. The church, as well as these stores and houses, were newly built after more and more noblemen settled in this town. It was probably why the storefronts here were far more gaudy. Gaudy in comparison to those in the old town. I couldn't say I liked it. I shifted my gaze to Fal, wondering if a girl would have a different opinion. Somewhat surprisingly, she seemed rather disinterested in the colorful windows lining the street, and had her gaze focused straight ahead. What's the matter? Nothing. I'm just thinking how it's been a while since I've been to the new town. Oh, it's the same for me. I never really had a reason to come here. I would never think of coming here to shop either. Everything's expensive around here after all. Exactly. We were nearing the church, which lay beyond the new town. Compared to the number of people going, there was only a shockingly small number of people leaving. Many strong believers would enter the church and stay there until the evening. Perhaps that contributed to it. I had already suspected it would have been better to just go a little earlier, but it was too late for regrets. What shall we do? Lining up might be a bit of a pain now. Ah, really? I thought so too. Looks like we have similar thought patterns, as expected from partners. The point we agreed on isn't exactly laudable, though. You're right. Oh well, let's at least go and check it out. The streets were packed with people here. It would perhaps be more appropriate to call it a cathedral rather than a church. It was enormous and could fit thousands of people. The size of the queue in front of the entrance was so long, you would think every last resident of the town had lined up there. Even so, the area was shrouded in an eerie silence, as no man would dare talk loudly in such close proximity to the church. Hey! I know what you want to say. If we line up now, we might have to wait over an hour for it to be our turn. What do you suggest? You come here every year, right? What was it like last year or the year before that? We came a bit earlier back then. Due to the influence of a certain individual I went with. I see. When I averted my eyes from the silence that had fallen, I noticed we had unconsciously walked up to the end of the queue. Might as well line up for a while. Good idea. It was about 30 minutes after that. We were standing about halfway into the queue by now. How much time would it take to get inside, receive blessings, and say our prayers? "Hey," the girl whispered without looking my way, taking care not to draw attention amidst the tranquil atmosphere. "Yes? We're not going to make the concert at this rate. Let's bail." Before I even had time to respond, she took my hand and pulled me out of the line. "We could pray anywhere." Stumbling out of the queue, I looked over my shoulder and saw that the gap we'd left had already been closed by people who'd been lined up behind us. Fal? If we waited any longer, we'd be late for the concert. True, but still. Come on, over here. Still being pulled by my hand, I glanced aside and noticed towards his back. She was standing in line all by herself. I stood, gazing over the people still lined up in a position away from the heavy pedestrian traffic. What should we do about our prayers? Just do it here. There's no priest here, you know. That's okay. The priest of this cathedral is a man of renown. He'll be able to deliver your prayers even from afar. With that, the girl closed her eyes and brought her hands together in front of her. Some simple verses even I could understand flowed forth from her lips. She was actually praying right here on the spot. Normally, at Natale, people would pray to reaffirm the physicality of their existence. Put simply, since God existed only as a spirit, it was impossible for man to talk to or envision him directly. People would often forget the spiritual part that existed within them and be preoccupied with physicalities like material wealth. The purpose of the Mass was for them to reaffirm their existence and report their deeds to God. And the mediator between man and God, the one to deliver the prayers, was the priest. So it was actually more important to confess to a priest at church than to pray, but it'll work, the girl said cheerfully after she reopened her eyes, even though she seemed to have nothing to base her claims on. I similarly closed my eyes and looked back on myself. I couldn't put everything I felt into words. I pictured Ari in my mind first. After that, Torta. After that, Forney. And finally, Val. "I suppose we're done here," Val said mischievously when I opened my eyes again. She had been watching me intently, it seemed. It was clear enough that I wouldn't be able to connect with God without the priest, but even more so, the church was so majestic that I hadn't been able to feel even a sliver of divinity. But what encouraged me far more right now was the smile right in front of my eyes. Let's go. Okay. We left the church behind us. With a final side glance, I managed to spot the familiar figure disappear into the entrance. Okay, looks like we'll be right on time. Shall we go? Good idea. After having wasted our time at the church, we had taken a leisurely stroll through the new town, and now it was almost showtime. Unlike the church, the concert hall wasn't decorated with garnish ornaments. Even so, utility, would probably be an appropriate word to describe it. It was a practical, rectilinear building, but it still had a sense of beauty to it. It was evident that a concert was about to start, as a considerable crowd had taken shape. Apparently, there was only reserved seating for today's concert, so there had been no need to rush. Even so, Val had assured me that it would be best to enter as soon as possible, so I just went along with that. Well then, if you will excuse me. Yes, thank you very much. A courteous person came over to greet Val, then left again. Who was that? An acquaintance of the director of the institute, I think. Wow, you're acquainted with people like that? I received a lesson from him once. Ever since we arrived in the hall, there had been people coming up to greet Val one by one. We had moved from the lobby to our seats as quickly as possible, but even there people would keep approaching her. "Good day, Falsita, and what an unusual entourage you have with you." "Miss Cordell." "Hello." "Seeing as you came here together, you really have become partners, huh?" "Did you doubt me?" "No, that's not what I'm implying. Never mind, I haven't heard you perform together yet, but it might just be a match made in heaven." "Thank you, we think so too," Val said, brimming with confidence. I just nodded ambiguously as usual. "I see. Don't let your guard down. Practice until the very end, okay?" "I know. Please don't lecture me here." "Don't worry, I won't. Listening to good music is a fruitful experience as well. Anyway, I wouldn't want to interrupt you two any longer. See you later." "Goodbye then." "Hey, listen, it's not..." "Drop by once school starts again. I'll give your performance a listen." She completely ignored my words and left us after concisely stating her demands. It appeared she was the same wherever she went. She's such a good teacher. I guess. The buzzer indicating the start of the concert resounded through the hall. It effectively brought the babble of voices to silence. Soon, the lights would go out, and the recital would begin. I never got a good look at the pamphlet. What are they going to perform? You'll know soon enough. I guess so. Apparently, there's going to be a lot of a cappella due to the Mass. It might prove to be a nice alternative to church. Yeah. The hall was awash in an atmosphere of tension unique to such a place. No one was talking, but due to the accumulation of the rustle of clothes, clearing of throats, and sighs, it was by no means silent. But after the conductor came on stage, made a light bow, and received applause from the audience, I stopped noticing this. I surrendered myself to the wave of pleasant music. It was a completely different experience from performing myself. Rather than becoming part of the composition of the notes, I took in the collection of tones that formed the music with my entire body. Not just my ears, but my skin, and basically every other part of my body that could react to the wave of music began feeling like one and the same organ. Until the final remnants of the notes were absorbed by the walls of the hall, I had been unable to move my body even an inch. The first part of the program was over. The audience was given a 5-minute intermission. Well, before my excitement had dispelled, I glanced at Val. She had an emotionless expression on her face. "Val? What is it?" "Nothing. The intermission has started." "Yes, I could tell." "Okay, then. That performance was amazing, wasn't it?" "Yeah." "What's wrong?" No, it's nothing. Anyway, I'm going to the restroom before it starts again. What about you?" "I'm fine." "I see. I'll be right back." Val eventually returned at the same time the second orchestra began, so I had no chance to ask her anything more. After all programs were over, everyone got up from their seats and began heading for the exit. Next to me, Val remained silently staring at the stage. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Mind if we stay here for a little while longer?" "Of course not. I'm in no rush." "Thanks," she said almost bluntly, then went back to being silent again. I didn't mind burying myself into this comfy chair for a while longer. My admiration for Piova Music Institute was renewed at the realization that it produced such great musicians. After the performance, a comfortable sinking feeling had overcome me, and my ears were still straining for tones left dwelling inside the hall. "Okay, let's go." Sure." Back to her usual energetic self, Val stood up, and I followed her outside. "So, what's the matter?" "Huh? You didn't enjoy the performance? What are you talking about? Or it must be my imagination then. You just seemed to be looking a bit glum after the recital was over. Me? Perhaps I did. She seemed surprised at first, but then nodded comprehensively. They were good, weren't they? Yeah, that's why I was kind of surprised that you seemed dissatisfied. That wasn't it. I wasn't dissatisfied at all. No, actually maybe I was. What do you mean? Fal looked around her as though to confirm the large amount of people on the streets, then smiled mischievously. Anyway, remember about that place I wanted to go? I do. I'll explain when we get there. Let's hurry. Hey, wait up! After trotting along for a few minutes, we arrived at the Institute campus. Partially due to it being Natale, it was strangely quiet around here, despite practice rooms still being open. Students who had finished their practice sessions came walking this way in twos and threes. We were proceeding in the opposite direction towards the school building. You wanted to go to a practice room? But we'd only be able to practice for less than an hour, you know. Just leave it to me. Yeah, that was my intention. Thanks. Well, at least this means I haven't been lugging around this heavy foretell case for nothing. Jeez. We stopped in front of the building. Fal told me to wait. There should still be practice rooms available, you know. Just wait here, she said, and entered the main building. She came back out after a few minutes. I took that cue to start for the secondary building, but was stopped by a voice behind me. Not that way. The main building, then? You're scheming something, aren't you? You're half right. Let's go. Fal stopped in her tracks, right in between the two school buildings. You can't be serious. I wonder what that is. The girl held up a thick bundle of keys. It no doubt opened a great number of doors. This is where I wanted to go. I'm amazed you were allowed to borrow the key. Fal proceeded further inside with continuous giggles. In roughly 1 month from now, we'll be standing over there performing. Yeah. It was a strange realization. Up until now, I had always performed on that stage on my own, never with someone else. Perhaps you could say a large responsibility lay on me? Until now, I had been able to get by somehow, even without subjecting myself to a strict practice routine. I liked music, was blessed with a great teacher, and was getting decent grades. But this time, it wasn't just my head on the line. Chances were that our performance would end up deciding our futures. It might be an exaggeration, but most people who successfully completed this recital ended up in famous orchestras. Even the ones who didn't would get favorable treatment from music instructors around the globe. Whatever Fal's goals may be, a successful performance here was undoubtedly an essential condition for her. Since she had chosen me to be her partner, I had the responsibility to do my utmost best for her. What's wrong? Nothing, just a little nervous. You're getting ahead of yourself. It wasn't the light, even pleasant kind of tension I felt before a performance, but a sort of panic pressing down on my chest, to the point it made it difficult to breathe. Truth be told, I'm feeling a little tense myself. At the same time she said that, she nimbly hoisted herself up on the stage, then turned around and extended a hand to me. Come. Okay. The hall was deathly quiet. I was still gripping her hand and felt it tremble lightly under my touch. Yet her expression was not one of fear. Rather, her eyes were full of determination, ready to take on a challenge. Hey, remember about before? You mean the question I asked you? Yeah. Of course. Will you tell me? I will. She finally let go of my hand and moved to the center of the stage. She closed her eyes, exactly like she would before she started singing. You know, to tell you the truth, I was frustrated back there. But that is all the time that I have for this episode, guys. So, if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already subscribed, by subscribing, you're becoming part of a legacy. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!